Everybody wants to have that lean, toned, fit body. But the problem is most people are just hoping and guessing that they're gonna get that result instead of knowing for sure that they are guaranteed to get that result. So how do you go from hoping that those results will happen to actually knowing, guaranteeing that it will happen? Well, I'm gonna walk you through what the 3 steps are that you need to implement to guarantee you get the fit body of your dreams. What's going on, Fit Fam? Welcome on back to my channel. My name is Megan Janice, the founder of Nomadic Fitness, and I teach you ladies how to eat way more food without any restrictions and work out smarter instead of harder so you can build that beautiful, sexy hourglass body, look and feel amazing in it year-round for life with ease. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Come follow me on Instagram. The link is in the description. And if you're coming on back, thanks so much for joining for another video. All right, fam, building the fit, toned, sexy body of your dreams that you can easily maintain year-round for life is actually so much simpler than people think. But the reason that it seems so complicated and confusing is because people are just kind of hoping that they're gonna get that result. They're just randomly trying different things, but they don't actually know for sure that what they're doing is working and if things need to be changed based on the results they're getting. So you know what I'm talking about. Most people will just kind of be like, okay, well, I'll just eat less. Okay, I'll just eat healthier. I'll eat a little bit less carbs. I'll do a little bit more cardio. It's kind of just randomly pulling these things, and then you're trying those things and just hoping that it's gonna work. And hey, maybe some of the time, some of it does get you some results, but there's probably going to be a plateau at some point where you're not gonna be able to really get your dream results, and that's because you're not actually using science. You don't know how your body works and what it is that you need to do scientifically, methodically to get those results. So here's the way you need to think of getting fit. And when you approach it this way, it actually becomes really simple and fun, to be honest. You need to think that you are literally taking your body through a controlled science experiment. So you are the subject of this experiment, and then what you are doing is you are controlling the variables. So you will create a set strategy based on where you are now, what does your body look like, how much fat, how much muscle do you have, what's your activity level, what's your age, all those things, versus where do you want to be? How lean do you want to get? How much muscle do you want to have? And what kind of a schedule can you have around this? So you're going to take those elements, where you are now, where you want to be, and you're going to actually come up with a plan that is based on science of how you're going to get there. Now, here's the thing. Most people will think once they've made this plan that that is the be all end all. So for example, they'll go online and they'll look at a macro calculator, they'll get some sort of workout plan and be like, okay, this is my strategy and that's it. I just follow this and I don't ever change anything. But when you approach it like that, you are not actually doing the science experiment. You are just picking a strategy and then never changing it, never evaluating it, right? So you need to be evaluating if what you're doing is actually working. So you have your set plan where you are controlling the variables, meaning you are staying really consistent with this is exactly how much I eat. These are my exact macros, my protein, fats, and carbs. And then these are the exact workouts I do. I stay consistent with doing these 4 workouts per week. I stay consistent with doing X amount of cardio, X amount of steps. So those are the things that you are controlling. You're keeping consistent. You're not having it all over the place. You're not saying, okay, some days I sort of ate this and then the next day I ate completely different. This week I did 4 sessions of cardio, but then the next week I only did 1. You can see how that is the way that most people are approaching their fitness. And it's no wonder that you get so confused about if things are working or not, because you're not actually controlling the variables. You're all over the place. You're not staying consistent and you're not actually tracking the data. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to evaluate the data and see, is it working or not? So how do you know if it is working? You need to be keeping track of your body and seeing, is it changing in the way that it should be changing to get me closer and closer to those results? The 3 things that you need to be tracking are your body weight. So you need to be weighing in very first thing in the morning, every single day. You should do this naked, after using the washroom and before eating or drinking anything to get your weight in a true fasted state. Then you want to keep track of this in an actual graph. Don't just keep track of the number, because what's important here is not the number of how much you weigh. Just the number in and of itself literally means nothing. What matters is the trend in the data. We want to see, okay, is your weight staying kind of the same? Is your weight trending upwards, or is your weight trending downwards? Now, none of those things are actually bad in and of themselves, because obviously we tend to think like, oh, my weight should only go down. If my weight is going up, that's bad. But that's not always the case. It depends on what phase of bodybuilding you are in. If you are in a muscle building phase, then you actually do want to be seeing a little bit of an upward trend in the scale, because you're actually trying to put on more mass on your body, except that you want it to be muscle, right? So yes, you need to be tracking your weight, and that's going to give you really valuable insight into what's going on with your body. But this is only going to make sense if you are doing the second piece of information, which is so crucial, the most important of all, which is taking weekly progress photos. So 1 day per week, make it the same day every week. You're going to take your photos right after you have weighed in. So same thing, before you've eaten or drank anything, and after you've used the washroom. The best way to take your photos would be standing in front of an open window, because you want the daylight coming on, hitting your body. That is when we're going to see what your body really looks like as best as possible. And then I know some women are not going to feel super comfortable with this, but you really want to be taking your photos pretty much as naked as you possibly can. So a lot of women are going to try to take photos still in shorts, for example, and this is not ideal, because as women, we store both a lot of fat and muscle, obviously, in our glutes and our thighs. So if you're wearing shorts, you're going to be covering a lot of that. We're not really going to be able to see all the progress you're making. So really the best thing you can do is take your pictures in a thong and bra, or in a really skimpy bikini. Then you're going to take photos at 3 different angles. So from the front with a double bicep flex, or with your arms out to the side. You don't want your hands right on your legs or hands on your hips, because then it's going to be blocking a little bit of your body. So you want to make sure that we can see your torso unobstructed. Then you're going to be taking your photo from the side, and you want to raise your arms straight out in front of you, so that we can again see your stomach and not have your arms covering that with your hands by your side. And then you're going to take a photo from the back, and again, it's going to be a double bicep flex, or your arms out at the side. Okay, so now you're taking those photos every single week, because the most important thing is not how much you weigh, but it's what your body composition is, how you look, right? Because the way that you want to look is you want to have not that much body fat, and you want to have quite a lot of muscle. That's what's going to give you that sexy, toned, feminine look that all of us ladies want. So here's the thing, because if you were only going by the scale, a lot of women, maybe if the scale was starting to go up, they get freaked out and they think, oh my gosh, I'm doing something wrong. But actually, a lot of the time, you might end up looking better even though you're gaining weight. It really depends, and this is why you can't only look at the scale. You need to see what is happening with the scale trend relative to what I see in my photos, and relative to what my goals are, right? If the scale was going up when you were supposed to be in a fat loss phase, then yeah, that is not what you want to be seeing, because in a fat loss phase, the scale should be trending down. So if you are seeing that the scale is not trending down after a couple weeks of really consistent data, then you know that you need to change something. So this is what I mean by controlling the variables and taking your body through that science experiment, and then seeing, are these variables actually getting me to the result I want? And if they're not, then you know you need to change something. Okay, the third piece of data that you need to be keeping track of every single week, that you will do alongside with your photos, is your biofeedback. So I want you to evaluate, how has your sleep been? How stressed have you been? Now, if you're getting really bad sleep, or if you're really stressed, then obviously that can be really affecting your results too. You're going to be retaining water because your cortisol is going to be really high. So that can be messing with the scale trend. That can be making you look more bloated. That can mean that you're not recovering that well from your workouts. So this is why you got to take that into consideration as well. As a woman, we also want to think about our menstrual cycle, right? Because obviously our weight can go kind of up and down. We can be more bloated depending on if we have started our bleed. Because it's normal for us women that the first few days of our cycle, we might be holding a little bit more water. We might be a little bit more bloated. So again, that's why we need to take that into consideration when we're seeing, is this working or not? And I think the two biggest things to really take into consideration is your hunger levels and your energy levels. And again, this is going to really depend on what phase you're in. But let's say you're in a reverse diet, which is where you are gradually trying to increase the amount of food that you eat, so that your body's maintenance is going to be higher, so that you can most likely eventually go into a cut, so you can really maximize fat loss, being in a calorie deficit at a higher intake. Or if you're already lean enough, then this is going to turn into a build phase, where you're going to go into a calorie surplus, where you're trying to eat more to really put on that muscle. So for example, that's something I really pay attention to when a client is going through a reverse, because maybe they come to me and they're only eating like 1,500 calories a day right now, but it's normal that when we start reversing and when we start making sure they're doing good quality strength training, that their hunger is actually going to pick up quite a lot. They're going to start getting much hungrier heavier than they were, and that is a really good sign that your body is utilizing all that food. It is starting to speed up your metabolism, it's starting to build some muscle, which again is speeding up your metabolism, so your body is getting hungrier and it's ready for more food. So essentially, you're gonna take all that data, hunger, energy, sleep, stress, menstrual cycle, etc., and that is going to help you to evaluate all of the data you have with your photos and with your weigh-ins. And then you're gonna be able to make a decision to know, is it the time for you to adjust your protocols? Now, obviously there are just so many different outcomes that you can evaluate by looking at the data, so I'm not gonna be able to cover all of them in this video, but I have made several other videos about how you go through each phase of building your physique, so whether you're reversing, cutting, or building. So you can check out that video here, and I'll also link them in the description box below. But I will go through a few different of my own client examples here so you can see how I was able to make some of the decisions I did with each client. So this is my client Steph, and now she's down about 14 pounds in just over 6 months of working together. So you can see that when she started coaching with me, she obviously had quite a lot of fat to lose. So most people, again, they would think, okay, I wanna lose fat, I wanna lose weight, so I'm just gonna go right into a calorie deficit, because we always hear this, you need to go into a calorie deficit if you wanna lose weight. However, she came to me and she was only averaging about 1,600 calories a day. So for me, that is too little to be going into a cut, because we just don't have that much room to drop her calories if she's already only at 1,600. So what did we do instead? We started with a reverse diet, where we were intentionally eating a little bit more bit by bit so that her metabolism would adapt, she would start burning more calories all of the time, and then she would have room to do a much better, higher quality deficit later, where she wouldn't have to drop her calories so low. So here's what she looked like after we did about 2-3 months of reversing. So we went all the way from 1,600 calories a day to almost 2,200 calories a day. Now you can see in her photos, obviously she lost a lot of fat, but if we look at what happened with the scale, we'll see that her weight stayed almost exactly the same from when she started to when she was finishing her reverse. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where if you only went by the scale, you would think that nothing is working. But since we're in a reverse diet, we aren't necessarily trying to see the scale go down. That will happen for some people, but it won't happen for everybody. But even to see that the scale is maintaining when you're in a reverse is a very good sign, because if you're able to eat hundreds more calories, but you're not actually gaining any weight, that means your body is still getting more efficient at burning more calories. And of course, she obviously improved your body composition, which is what we really want. So that's why it's so important to take into consideration, which phase am I in of bodybuilding and what's happening with the scale relative to my photos, because all of these things matter for you to make the right decision. Now, by the time we were getting close to 2,200 calories, she was just feeling like, okay, this is a lot of food, I'm feeling really full. So again, checking about her hunger and satiety. So that gave me the information to know that we were ready to end her reverse, because obviously she did have weight to lose, she wanted to lose more fat, and we were really hitting the max of what she felt comfortable eating. So that meant we now had plenty of room to go into a cut, be in an actual deficit, and just let the weight come off. So now we have been cutting for a little over 3 months, and boom, you can see, looking at the scale trend, the weight has just been absolutely dropping off. She's been able to lose weight no problem, and we've only had to decrease her calories to 1,900. So when she came into the program with me, she had all this fat to lose, and she was only eating 1,600, and now she's losing weight, losing body fat, literally like clockwork, the scale dropping every single week, and she's eating 1,900 calories. And so that's also how I know that I don't need to continue to drop her calories any further, because she continues to drop weight. So why would I be dropping her calories? If what she's doing is working, there's no reason to change it. So again, this is what I'm talking about taking your body through a controlled science experiment, controlling the variables, which is your food, your workouts, and then evaluating, is this working or not? And in her case, it obviously is working, and that's why we don't need to change it. But let's say at some point in her cut, she starts to plateau. We see after a couple of weeks of her being very adherent that she's not losing weight anymore, then yes, we would do a drop in her calories, and or we would also increase her movement. Maybe we would do a little bit more cardio, a little bit more steps, maybe some combination of the two. But until that is the case, we don't need to change anything. All right, and here's another client that I will walk you through who has also had an amazing transformation. She's down about 20 pounds, and we've been working together for almost a year. And not only is she down all that weight, but you can see she's built some beautiful leg definition and ab definition. So when she first came to me, she was used to doing, really extreme dieting, training where she would be given a plan that was like 1200, 1300 calories. And obviously maybe she would lose a little bit of weight, but she would inevitably gain it all back because it was very difficult to adhere to. It wasn't sustainable. And so she was really frustrated, but also found my whole methodology of eating more to lose weight and keep it off for good very appealing. So she decided to trust me and we got to work. So she came to me eating around 1900 calories a day, but her macros were really not good. She was eating very high fat, very little protein. So definitely if you're eating that way, which is the way that most people are eating, you're gonna have too much body fat and very little muscle. So you're gonna be unhappy with the way you look and also the way you feel. You're probably gonna be really sluggish and bloated. So first things first, we got to work getting her macros right and adding in good quality strength training. This client was only doing 3 sessions a week because she's quite busy. So we're doing 2 lower body days and then 1 full upper body day. And then I took her through a reverse all the way up to about 2500 calories a day. And she is actually an example of somebody who lost weight in her reverse. So the reason that that can happen for some people is because their metabolism adapts so much and speeds up so much by the increase in the calories that even though they're eating more, they're actually technically in a deficit, because you wouldn't be able to lose weight if it wasn't a deficit of calories, but she's eating more, which means that her body's burning more even than what she's eating. So it still is a deficit even though she's at higher calories. It's pretty insane, right? Of course, that won't happen to everybody, and there's no way to predict whether or not that's going to be your result in reverse, which again is all the more reason why you have to go by the data. You have to be taking your body through this controlled science experiment to see what your body needs to get the results you want. All right, once we got to 2500 calories, even though she was losing weight, she still had much more weight that she wanted to lose, and she was kind of maxing out, feeling full, and I just wanted her to be able to lose more weight faster. So I decided, okay, we have plenty of room now to go into a cut. So we spent about 6 months cutting, maybe even 7 months, and we went from 2500 all the way down to her absolute lowest was 1775. And I think it was about 7 months into the cut when we were down to 1775 that I realized she just wasn't continuing to lose weight anymore. She had been that whole time, but it's normal that once you're getting to about 6 months into a cut, a little bit more than that for some people, you're gonna start plateauing just because you've been in a deficit for too long. So this is why some people, especially people who have a good bit of body fat to lose, you're probably gonna have to do more than one cut to achieve the physique you want, because you just can't lose all the fat in one go. You need to be cycling up and down and giving your body a little bit of a break. So that's exactly what we've been doing with her. Is we are now in our second reverse, and I've taken her up to 2200 calories in this reverse, and she is actually maintaining the weight that she lost in the cut really well. Okay fam, so that is how it works. So please stop just trying to hope and guess for results and realize you need to take your body through a controlled science experiment. You need to control the variables, be very meticulous about tracking everything, and then use that data to evaluate if what you're doing is working or not. Now, I get that this seems overwhelming, and of course it is a lot to understand. This is why there are people like myself who are professionals who literally dedicate years of their lives to being able to understand this stuff, because there is a lot to know. So that is why we offer one-to-one coaching, and you've seen the types of results we get, how it is that we know that our clients are going to get these transformations, and how we guide them through the entire process. So if you don't want to have to figure anything out, if you literally just want to be told, do exactly this, you will get the result, be encouraged through the process, be supported, have so much feedback, then go ahead and click on the link in the description box to check out our program. And if it seems like a good fit, you can go ahead and schedule a free consult with our team where we'll go over the entire program with you to see if we're a good fit to work together and help you get these amazing results once and for all. All right, fam, thank you so much for checking out this video. Now the next one I want you to watch is here, where I'm going to break down in more detail each of these 3 phases: cutting, building, and reversing, so that you're going to understand when and how you do each one and what the benefits are. So I will see you in that video.